Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en el mundo. Mi invitada especial, representando a Impact Wrestling y a Filipinas entero, the quintessential diva Gisele Shaw llega acá a Lucha Libre Online. Gisele, it is an absolute honor to have you as our guest. How are things going your way? How are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you. How are you doing?
All good here in Puerto Rico. I'm glad to know you're doing well. I want to start this interview asking you, Philippines is not a country dominant in pro wrestling. Like, yes, we have people like TJP and we've had certain independent wrestlers that achieve success, but basketball, boxing, and even cricket are, huge sports over there. What caught your attention from pro wrestling compared to the other sports alternative that you have back in Philippines?
Right. So when I was growing up, I actually watched wrestling with my family. So it's always been, the thing that we've done all my life. So I think it's really important for me as well, because when I was younger, my grandmother watched that with me, and then she got sick. And I feel like that's my connection with her. And that's always kind of, stayed with me all throughout my life. And now, being in Impact Wrestling and making it stuff, it's kind of like, hopefully she's looking down at me and looking down at me. And, hopefully she's proud.
Yeah, your grandma is definitely proud. The wrestling industry is a particular interesting world. You wrestle in Canada, you wrestle in the UK, in the US, in every single place, basically. And you finally arrived to Impact Wrestling. That's your first mainstream company. And you came in the right moment. Impact is blooming. The Knockouts division is more aggressive and tougher than ever, basically. Who contacted you, and how did this Impact deal came a reality for you?
So when I went to the UK, I wrestled there, made a name for myself, because at the time, when I wanted to be with Impact Wrestling, there were just no opportunities for me. So what I've done is, create opportunities if there's no opportunities. Went there to the UK, had an amazing time. And I guess, I didn't really think of Impact Wrestling. I just thought, what can it, the present, the now, and, just try to make a name for myself there. And I guess that's, that was kind of heard here in North America, or seen rather. And Gail contacted me and she asked if, I was interested in signing. And when they first came, I was at a time in my life where I felt like I wasn't ready to sign yet, because I didn't really feel like I've accomplished everything that I've accomplished in the UK. But when I've reached that pinnacle, per se, in that scene, then I turned and, thought, where else am I gonna go, right? So Impact Wrestling came back again, talked to Gail, and, I thought that was the right time.
So let's go back to the specific moment. I mean, you competed back in 2018, as far as I recall, but 2022 is the year that Gisele Shaw, the quintessential diva, made a statement and is part of the roster of Impact Wrestling. This is your first day backstage. How was that experience? The first day on Impact Wrestling, your first day in the new job. That's what you ever wanted. How was that experience, the first time there?
It was super surreal. It was actually here in Dallas. So it was just so cool to have a company, give me an opportunity back in 2018, do my stint, whatever, and then come back to North America and come back to the company that gave me that opportunity. So I think it's a full circle. It just feels so great, to even be a part of the locker room, the Knockouts division, because this is something that I've always wanted since I was a kid. And, that dream became reality. And I'm just living my life.
I recall a post, Scott D'Amore's birthday was pretty recent. And I recall the video, he doing a lot of things, you, Josh Alexander, him. You mentioned that he's a great friend as well in your life. How did Scott D'Amore, influence, his career, his legacy, his mindset? How did that basically changed your pathway inside the wrestling industry? Do you learn something from him while being on Impact Wrestling?
Definitely. So when I first actually had that opportunity with Impact Wrestling, we, just became friends immediately. He would coach me and stuff, watch my matches. And I was not scared to be like, hey, Scott, like, can you please watch my matches? Or can you give me feedback? Can you give me critique? I've always just wanted to be better, and I want to be the best of the best, So I feel like learning from someone like Scott, who's been in this business for 30 years, why, like, I think it would just be not smart to not pick his brain, right? So I still do that to this day. He gives me a hard time, and that's what I want. Is I want him to be honest and give me the minute details that no one ever sees, and I feel like those are the things that make you a better wrestler.
If you allow me, I'm going to also say something else in Spanish. El 26 y 27 de agosto, Dallas, Texas, Lone Star Stampede, directamente Impact Wrestling llega a donde todo comenzó para Gisele Shaw. El 26 y el 27 de agosto, Dallas, Texas. Para boletos, simplemente tienen que ir a impactwrestling.com o aquí a la parte de abajo para hacer el link for the tickets. Just click down here y ahí lo van a encontrar. Todos los mexicanos, los boricuas, hay muchos salvadoreños también por allá, toda la familia latina, todos los hispanos. Impact Wrestling está en su mejor punto, 26 y 27 de agosto. Ustedes tienen la oportunidad de presenciarlo en Dallas, Texas, así que créanme, no se lo pueden perder. The Quintessential Diva también va a estar presente en dicho evento. So let's go to where everything started for you, Dallas, Texas. You're currently there doing a media tour today. But the interesting part is that Dallas, it's a huge city in terms of pro wrestling. Impact is in its best moment. How does it feel to be back on the place where everything started for you?
I think it's pretty incredible. I believe in, manifestations and full circles and all that stuff. And, Dallas will always have a special place in my heart. This is, the first time I went on tour with Impact Wrestling, and then coming back here during WrestleMania week. That was super cool. That was my first WrestleMania week, and I'm just so happy that I was included, in that event. And then coming back here to do a media tour in Dallas, it's just like, this is supposed to be the place that, it's just happening for me. And, there's places in people's lives that really just stick out, and Dallas is one of those places, and I'm just happy to be back here.
Gisele, you mentioned, I believe it was at the Pride in Toronto back in June. You finally did the announcement that that you're a trans woman. And the interesting part about this is that you are so freaking dominant that, genders or, everything, it doesn't even matter. But at the same time, your story is such an inspiring story, and you are giving kids out there the opportunity to say, hey, I want to be like her once I grew up. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be yourself. How does it feel to be an inspiration for the whole community out there?
I feel like that's such a huge responsibility, that I really hope that I am inspiring the next generation and a lot of people out there, not just in the community, but also just everyone, that if you really put your mind into something and follow your goals, follow your dreams, put the work in, it's going to come true. You could have talent. You could have all the talent in the world. And if you don't put the work in, someone who's not as talented as you and works really, really hard, it's just going to surpass you, right? So it's not about gender. It's not about whatever, your race or whatnot. It's about hard work. And that's the most important thing. And that's what I want people to understand and know, is that, just be focused, and, you can achieve whatever you want.
Let's go inside the Knockouts division. The Knockouts World Champion, it's such a prestigious title in the whole wrestling industry. People like Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, right now Jordan Grace have held that title. As a Filipino woman, how important for you is to conquer that title and add it to your resume?
I think it's very important, as a Filipino woman, to accomplish that. No one has ever done it. And I think that would be a great representation for, my community, my people, that, the Philippines usually is about, the beauty pageant. And that's what we usually have the women, go and chase after, Miss Universe, like that's a huge thing to accomplish. But I want to show the women that you can also be, like the strong, confident, like kick butt in the ring and, still look like pristine or something, and also as a trans woman, I think that's really important. It's never been held by a trans woman as well. And, I think that would be like a 2 ticks for me. So I'm not going to really, be, I guess, obsessed about like wanting that or grabbing that, but I'm just going to stay positive and, keep focused and live in the moment.
You mentioned that your family was a huge deal, especially your grandmother, back in the day when you started watching wrestling. Now you are on a whole different position. Now you're the one people are watching through the TV. Now you're the one inspiring people. Now you're the one providing your art to the whole industry. What are your family's thoughts on that? Gisele Shaw is finally on TV. You sit around them for so long watching pro wrestling, and now they have the opportunity to watch you doing what you loved. What are their thoughts on the fact that you became a pro wrestler?
Well, in the beginning, definitely they weren't really the most supportive because they're parents, right? Like they see you wrestling and then they go, oh my God, like you are going to hurt yourself. And I feel like as a parent too, I think that really hurts you when you watch your kid get beat up in the ring. So it didn't really sit well with them. And they're very like, you know what, like you should just become a doctor. You should just become a nurse because, typical Asian, background, they really want you to, get in that medical field. But I think it's pretty cool now that, they have accepted it and, they do take the time to, watch Impact Wrestling as well and, watch it on YouTube. And as long as I'm happy, they're very happy as well.
Okay, who was the wrestler that caught your eye? Who was that person that inspired to say, I want to be like this when I grew up? Because a lot of people inside the industry have their picks, but who's Gisele Shaw? Who's Gisele's number one?
I really loved the Attitude Era. I think that was so crazy. And then looking back at it as well, it's just like, whoa, I can't believe that they got away with that stuff. You got Triple H, Undertaker, Steve Austin, The Rock. But for me specifically, it was Trish Stratus because she just personified, that you can be confident, beautiful, smart, and do it all. Like you didn't have like she really showed that you don't, you didn't really have to be just like, oh, bra and panties. She pushed the envelope as much as she can, and without them, like we wouldn't be here.
That's so nice. If you allow me as well, I want to say something else in Spanish again. Recuerden, 26 y 27 de agosto, Lone Star Stampede, Dallas, Texas, boletos a la venta en impactwrestling.com, shopimpact.com para mercancía como tal vez esta t-shirt de Impact Wrestling, shopimpact.com para toda la mercancía, ebay.com/impactwrestling también pueden encontrar memorabilia filmada y YouTube para toda la programación semanal de Impact, disponible los jueves a las 8 de la noche, tanto por YouTube o por Access TV desde las 8 de la noche. No se lo pueden perder por nada del mundo. Gisele, it's been an absolute honor to have you as our guest. But before we go, I want to ask one last question. What's next for Gisele Shaw? You have a huge event coming up. Impact has us well bound for glory. There are multiple things that are going to be happening in the next upcoming months. What's next for the quintessential diva?
I would have to say either the Knockouts World Tag Team Championships or the Knockouts World title. I mean, like whatever is in front of me, whoever is in front of me, I'm gonna have my crosshairs on them, and you know, they better get out of my way or I'm gonna run them over.
Interesting facts. The fact that you're not going only after one title, you're going after basically every available title inside Impact Wrestling makes you a real threat to the whole Knockouts division. But again, Gisele, it's been an absolute honor to have you as our guest. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks to Ross as well and the whole Impact Wrestling team for making it possible. Wishing you success in your career and in your personal life. And let's wrap this up en español. Michael Morales Torres y de Quintessential Diva Gisele Shaw para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en el mundo.